Hello and welcome to part 23 of my Hogwarts MOC series. Today we're back at the Viaduct entrance building, but we're not going to be looking at the exterior, which is the same as the last time I showed you, but we are going to be taking a look at the interior as I start on my challenges for the Philosopher's Stone. Just before I get on with that though, I thought it would be interesting to ask my viewers and subscribers where they're from. Now, this was prompted by a couple of comments from a person called Viva Lukav, who always comments on my videos, so thank you very much for that. And again, apologies if I pronounce your name wrong. I think I may have done it before. But it prompted the question, where are my viewers from? Looking at the analytics on my channel, I can see that apparently 20.9% are from the US, so hello. 13.4% are from here in the UK, 6.4% are from Germany, 2.4% are from the Netherlands, and 2.3% are from France. Now, there are a load more of those aren't the only countries, but I thought it would be interesting to ask where people are from, because obviously I am from the UK, and I therefore kind of assume that everyone's from the UK, which is definitely not true, thank God. So yes, I will leave a pinned comment, and if you want to comment where you're from, and I will try and make a collation of all of those and say something about it in the next video. Anyway, let's have a look at this week's build. Spinning the building around, you can get a better look at what I've been up to. So, last time we saw this particular building, I had completed these arches on the front, or rather the back of the building, the front as it's facing us now, but inside there was nothing. There was the floor, and then at the back there was a wall made of multicoloured bricks. Now, I put those in there just as a placeholder so that I had something on which the Viaduct entrance building itself could rest. But with the 2021 wave of sets, the 20th anniversary sets, which I have previously reviewed, I got a large number of new pieces, and since I knew I didn't want to keep those sets as they were, what I decided to do is use those pieces to create some more interiors. So we'll take a closer look at those in a second, but let me just get a little bit closer onto the bits that you can already see here, and then we will remove the building so we can take a look underneath. As should be pretty obvious, this is the third floor corridor, as it is in the books and the film. Obviously, I've put it on the ground floor, as we call it in the UK, or first floor if you're from the US. That's just because I wanted to be able to get quickly from the trapdoor down to the challenges below, and I didn't want to try and make some sort of chimney or chute that spanned across several floors. So last time we looked at this particular bit of building, I showed how I had taken part of what used to be Firenze's classroom, which still exists over there, and turned it into this space for Fluffy. Now, I did this before the 2021 sets had come out, so I didn't actually have Fluffy back then, and my original intention was to use one of these trapdoor pieces. Now, I've actually got two of them here. This is the older style, where you can see it has a little bit that protrudes from the bottom and holds a slightly different type of trapdoor. And then here we have the one that actually came in the Fluffy Encounter set. This is the more modern type. It's been out for ages. I just didn't happen to have any when I was planning this, which, as you can see, doesn't have anything sticking out, and the trapdoor itself is slightly different. But they perform pretty much the same function in the same footprint, and I thought that that would be perfect. Pop it sort of there, slide it on in, and then that would be able to open up and the trio can go through it. And that's exactly the setup that is done in that Fluffy Encounter set. But when it came time to actually pop this into the castle, I ran into a problem, and that was Fluffy himself. Now, the Fluffy build, I think, is great, but it was too big. Now, what I could have done with this is enlarge the building. There's definitely scope to do that at some point in the future, but my solution for now was actually to make Fluffy smaller. Now, in terms of the actual body in proportion to the heads, I didn't want to make the body too much smaller in total, because then the heads would look comically oversized. So what I actually settled for was a bit of a compromise. I've removed Fluffy from the room. See if you can spot the compromise that I made. Yep, that's fairly obvious there. We now have half a dog, and that was completely necessary because the space in there really isn't sufficient to have the full creature as built. But because I felt a bit sorry for him and didn't want him to just stay as half a dog, I actually used a Technic brick on the back, which can then be combined with this Technic pin, and we can pop Fluffy back together, and then we have a complete dog. I had to make a few modifications in the main body, got rid of some of the 3 long inverted slopes and replaced them with some other parts, and obviously had to move the 2x4 brick in the middle into a couple of different ones, but overall the design has stayed the same. It does actually give him a little bit of extra posability. Don't know if that's very useful or anything like that, but that is a feature now, and then anytime I want to put him back in, I can just pop that off and he goes back in very easily. Once he's back in, there is still a small degree of posability. You just lock the feet in place onto the studs there, and then the body can tilt down and up a little bit. Don't know if that's fully visible there, and there's room for all 3 heads, which can still all move a little bit independently. Not doing a very good job of showing it, but there you go. And the only thing that's necessary when I put the wall back on here is to move that head a little bit out of the way and then rotate the nearest one. Try and get the arrangement right, something like that, just so there's enough clearance to put the wall flush against here. Otherwise, I can just leave it sticking out a bit, and it gives him a little bit of character, I like to think. Yes, I think that's a good compromise that I reached. However, I was still running into a bit of a problem, and that was with this trapdoor piece. So this is actually 8 studs long and 6 wide. That's the surround, and the trapdoor is actually, well, effectively 6 studs by 4 studs. So if I show you this lined up here, you might just be able to see that where I've got Fluffy's feet at the moment, they would actually be sort of on top of parts of the trapdoor. Now, that was a problem because no matter which way round I put it, I therefore couldn't open it with Fluffy in the room, and that seemed to defeat the whole purpose of creating the removable back half so I could have Fluffy in there. So what I actually ended up doing was creating my own custom trapdoor, which is just here, and I will pop it off in a second, but I'll just show you the functionality. Obviously it opens as a trapdoor should do, and because of the hinges there, it actually stays in place, and then you can pop it back down again and it sits fairly flush with the floor. I will show you that in closer detail. One thing to point out first, though, is the harp at the back. I also managed to find space for that. That's a really nice design that comes in the Fluffy Encounter set. All I had to do was change a few parts around on the base. It's originally on a 2x3, one of those 2x3 modified plates with a round side to it with a hole in it, which looks really nice but doesn't fit in the space. Other than that, it is unchanged, and the other detail that I have included is the small chicken leg, which isn't mentioned at all in the books or films, but was a nice detail from that set I decided to keep. Here's a closer view of that custom trapdoor. I actually started off using a 4x4 modified plate with 2 clips on the side and then putting tiles on top of it, but I decided I wanted something a little bit more in keeping with the colour scheme of the rest of the trapdoors, so it's actually some brown pieces. If I take off these boat studs underneath, you'll see it's a couple of 1x2 modified plates with clips, some regular plates there, these boat studs underneath, and then tiles of different sizes, and a jump plate underneath this modified plate with a bar on it to act as the sort of ring that you use to pull it up. Now that all fits neatly in there and gives plenty of space to open, and I think it all works really, really well. There isn't really room to fit anybody in the room at the same time. However, I have managed to fit in a door, which you can see just there. I've actually had to settle for one of these more modern style doors, as I tried fitting another one of these castle doors, but the arrangement of all the different arches and things just wouldn't allow me to do it. But I think this is a nice replacement, and it has another one of those modified plates to act as the door handle. So that can swing open, and you can pose figures just here and possibly just on the edge, those few studs inside, and then they can try and get through the trapdoor. Speaking of which, let's head down onto the next floor, which you can already catch a glimpse of just there, and we will see the next challenge that I have managed to create. And there we go, here is the basement level, where the challenges for the Philosopher's Stone are, well, in some cases going to be, and some cases already are. Before we take a look at what you've already guessed is the Devil's Snare, we'll take a look at the techniques I've used for the wall behind. I hope that gives you a better angle to see what I've done down here. So last time we looked at this, it was just a stack of multicoloured bricks supporting the tile layer on top. But now I have created some wall detailing. I didn't want this to just be a blank wall made up of regular bricks, so actually what I've done is use some bits that there were quite a few of, that being these arch pieces, which are relatively new, especially in tan, and then these wall pieces with the window cut out in them. The inspiration for this came from the final chamber of these challenges, which contains the Mirror of Erised, but I thought that the overall look could be applied to all the challenges. I decided to actually move the arches one brick further forward, or so towards the camera, just because I thought it was best to have some wall behind them. What this allowed me to do was take up a large amount of space with a few pieces, as some of these pieces are quite large, and it creates a sort of detail that you probably couldn't get from individual pieces, and it makes things a little bit more interesting than if it was just a blank wall. Obviously, this section here and the one further along have not been detailed yet. That will be in a future episode. So I think it is time to take a look at the Devil's Snare. So this is directly below where the trapdoor is, as it should be. The trapdoor actually opens sort of on this side, unfortunately, but that's just how the spacing went. But you still fall directly into the Devil's Snare. Now, in creating this, I didn't order any parts, I just used ones that I had on hand, so I'm not sure if this is the final form, but I'm pretty happy with the result that I got. Let me take a few of these arch pieces off so we can get a better view though. And there we go. Looking down onto it, you get a better idea of the layout. So I've started with some green tiles at the bottom. Some are in the regular Lego green and some are also in sand green. That also includes one sand green 2x2 jumper plate. This just allows me to put a figure, such as my stunt Justin Finch-Fletchley, on the tile in the middle, or the plate rather, and this just allows him to look like he's being caught by the Devil's Snare. Something I wanted to incorporate into this, which actually originally was an idea I had when I did the Hufflepuff common room, was these strings here. Now, these came in a very old set, which I think was a Knights Kingdom 2 set, where they were part of a bridge, and I've had them ever since, and I've never found somewhere to use them. So I've used them as creepers here. You can see I've clipped one in on this side, just to create more of an angle, and there is still some posability to them, so if I wanted to, I could wrap them around one of these figures. They're just connected to the wall in various places using bricks with studs on the side. I've also used another clip brick here to attach this sort of seaweed piece, which I always associate with an early Luke's X-Wing build, the one with the Dagobah hut, where those are put on the outside to simulate it being underwater. But anyway, I digress. I've also used a lot of these vine pieces, which I think actually originated possibly in the minifigure scale Bionicle line. I could be making that up, but they've been used in lots of places ever since. I got a lot of them with my Barracuda Bay build, so I put them to good use here. I've also made use of leaf pieces, these slightly more modern style here. I don't know if the Devil's Snare had particularly large leaves. I didn't actually look at any photos when I was creating this, because I knew I was going to be working from pieces I already had, and I wanted to try and give my best approximation without trying to stick slavishly to those original designs. Also managed to get one coming out through the little window back there. There's nothing actually behind any of those windows. I did mention briefly in an earlier video that I might try and create something behind here, because this is directly behind the sort of porch place in front of the viaduct, so there's actually some hollow space in there, but I couldn't think of a good way to use it, so unfortunately I decided to brick it up. But that's no massive loss, as I've still got plenty of space in front here. Okay, so that is my Devil's Snare. I may change things around in future. The good thing about it being all plants is that it's very movable and posable, and hopefully I can create something that looks really good. One final detail to point out is the torch on the wall there. There are actually two of them. There's another one over there. They're identical, just basic torches, but something to provide a bit of illumination and some variety on the walls. The final thing to show you, of course, would be somebody going through the trapdoor and down into the Devil's Snare. So to do that, they would need to get through this door first. Hello again, Justin. I'm sorry to put you to all of this. And then, of course, they stand there and open the trapdoor, hoping that Fluffy is being charmed asleep by that harp. And then we can post them through the trapdoor. Oh, and they just missed the Devil's Snare. Let's try that again, okay? So it's really the first time I'm trying it. And, oh, he's missed again. So that may be something I try and improve in future and create a sort of slide effect, not actually using a slide piece or anything, but just a way that they'll get carried directly into this part here. But nevertheless, it proves that it works, and apparently Justin has been able to skip the first challenge and go on to the flying keys. So that'll be what's next, probably, at least in this little sub-series of videos as I create the flying keys and then the chess set. Another suggestion that I think a commenter gave, and I think I kind of had myself at the same time, was whether or not to include those missing challenges, that being Quirrell's troll and Snape's potion riddle. Now, they were cut out of the film, but I might be able to include at least a nod to them in here. I only have the one troll, which is that original mountain troll, but I don't see why I couldn't create a sort of line of potions or something just here before you actually get to the Mirror of Erised, which of course I talked about in that previous video. We'll have to wait and see, but it's definitely something I'm considering. So there we go, the beginning of my challenges for the Philosopher's Stone. I'll have to think of a creative way to have the Philosopher's Stone revealed or something at the end, but that's for a future video. Other things I've got in the works are a review of the first flying lesson set, which I have ordered from LEGO and used some VIP points to get a bit of money off. And also, I will be working on the next section of the castle, which will be the Long Gallery. The other thing is that I have a lot of leftover parts. In fact, that is the bag of parts just there, and I will hopefully be able to use a lot, if not all of them, in my future designs. So I will see what this will do for me in terms of the parts that I need, and then get on with ordering and building. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, then please leave a like down below. Considering subscribe to the channel, it helps me out massively. And if you do have anything you'd like to say or add, then please leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.